Es el monasterio de Yuste, centro hoy capital de Europa, con la entrega del 13º Premio Europeo Carlos V, en esta ocasión para los itinerarios culturales del Consejo de Europa. Todo preparado en este monasterio, donde el emperador Carlos V pasó sus últimos días para entregar el premio que lleva su nombre y que desde 1995 ha premiado a algunos de los principales personas, los principales constructores de la Unión Europea. Y en esta ocasión, en este 2019, por primera vez se premia un proyecto de construcción europea y no a una persona. Son los itinerarios culturales del Consejo de Europa, las 38 rutas que recogen, ojo, no solo Europa, sino un total de 61 países de 4 continentes. Ahí ven, por ejemplo, a la persona premiada hace 2 años, a Marcelino Oreja, el Premio Europeo Carlos V de 2017, en un acto que va a comenzar en unos instantes.
Ceremony of the 13th edition of the European Charles V Award. This award has been given to the cultural routes of the Council of Europe. One more year, Yuste, the final destination chosen by the King Emperor, becomes the heart of Europe. The heart that beats with the values of equality, solidarity, peace and freedom. Inside these walls loaded with history and stories. Let's open the ceremony. The members of the presidential table enter the church of the Royal Monastery of Yuste, chaired by His Majesty the King. As the highest representative of the cultural routes of the Council of Europe, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Mr. Thorborn Jagland, takes his honorable place. Your Majesty, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today, in this Royal Monastery of Yuste, we gather values, ideas, committed to a united Europe, full of solidarity. A Europe which goes beyond borders, which were called by Robert Schuman the scars of history. A Europe which believes in cooperation and collaboration. Today, on the Day of Europe, the European and Iberoamerican Academy of Yuste Foundation calls us for the ceremony of the European Charles V Award. This award acknowledges the work of people, institutions, initiatives that have contributed to make Europe the most prosperous and stable place in the world. These seek union rather than disunity, and they understand that there is much more that unites us than divides us. 365 days have passed since last year's Days of Europe, and we come back here to this marvelous place in Spain, and we are here to celebrate that we are European. And this just means that we want to identify and to defend those values which have shaped us as a society. We are talking about peace, solidarity, freedom, equality. We are here in Extremadura and we feel like home. So thank you very much for your hospitality. The President of the Junta de Extremadura, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the European and Iberoamerican Academy of Yuste Foundation, the President of the Jury of the European Charles V Award, Mr. Guillermo Fernández Vara, you have the floor.
Your Majesty, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Madam Vice President of the Government in representation of the President of the Spanish Government, Madam Speaker of the Spanish Parliament, Madam Iberoamerican Secretary General, ambassadors, Father Master of the Monastery of Yuste, authorities, members of the Academy, Charles V laureates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Extremadura. Today, the 9th of May, Europe Day. I would like to express my most sincere gratitude to His Majesty. Thank you for your presence and for your commitment with the European and Ibero-American Academy of Yuste Foundation. Once again, you're showing your pro-European spirit, as well as the importance that the Royal House of Spain attaches to the Charles V European Award as an example of integration and harmony among peoples. Congratulations to the cultural roots of the Council of Europe and what they stand for. They promote cultural democracy, they foster dialogue and share values, attitudes and behaviors which bring about dialogue and closeness among cultures through exchanges among many countries through shared experiences. Journeys were always considered an important educational and leisure tool to acquire unique values for personal growth. During them, hopes are renewed, creativity is given full rein, we learn, how to listen, how to understand the reasons for many questions, because our minds just open. As our distinguished laureate of the Charles V European Award 2016 for the Erasmus program, Professor Sofia Corradi, pointed out, they boost collaborative and unexpected problem-solving skills through innovative solutions. Extremadura is a border region with a European identity and an Ibero-American spirit. Our culture, our heritage, and our particularities are a result of the preceding civilizations and of many enriching encounters. Here, we understand what the cultural roots are about: knowledge, respect, feeling equal in the difference and different in equality, further deepening those bonds and profound values that are the true spirit of the meaning of Europe. With the latest certified routes, there will be 38 cultural routes in all. The Council of Europe invites us to discover and live them, focusing on themes as diverse as architecture, industrial heritage, or the Europe Liberation Route, among others. Extremadura is a land rich in cultural and environmental diversity and is crisscrossed by many routes. To name a few, the St. James Way, the prehistoric rock art trail, the route of megalithic culture, and the Jewish heritage route. If you allow me, I would like to highlight one which is very meaningful to this region, the European routes of Emperor Charles V, which unite and invigorate territories as well as sectors, providing quality, creating networks, and breathing life. Ironically, the demographic challenge is nowadays a cross-border challenge affecting the whole of Europe. The routes are a tool to connect cities and towns, the rural and the urban worlds, and thus cultures and ways of life. And what's more important, our young people are learning about that heritage through our first-class education and leisure certified tourism, which is synonym with excellence. Dear friends, we need to bear in mind that depopulation in part of our territory is a serious phenomenon requiring wide consensus to provide an adequate and particularly necessary solution. We used to say that young people were the future, and we were so wrong. Many things have happened to let us realize that it wasn't like that. They are the present building the future. We know we're experiencing difficult times in which principles that we thought strong are being questioned. At times like these, we need to be broad-minded to be able to respond to the challenges we face. It is here and now. Challenges are complex, but we have equipped ourselves with tools to face them at a global level, such as Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, which should be an instrument to consistently plan, implement, and assess public policies the ones we apply in our territories and also beyond. This future is already here, represented by pro-European young people and by young girls who learning at their high school in Jarandilla de la Vera, continue adding to the knowledge of European values. These young people will take over, and they need us to set an example and offer the best legacy, a future filled with hope. Let us keep on teaching about Europe. Last year, a 14-year-old teenager told us at this very place that Europe is the future. She wanted to keep enriching herself with the contribution of other European teenagers. From here, Yuste, one of the sites of European history, we thank them and we encourage them to keep on learning, to start leading the necessary change, and to continue building a better Europe. The history of literature gave us many wise examples. Ulysses undertook many adventures, proving that curiosity from the inner self is the best learning tool. Cavafis took us to an infinite Ithaca, turning every experience into a true path, a path that, as Machado showed, is made as we go. However, Cortázar showed us that there are many possibilities in the same hopscotch game, all valid, all lived, possible lives. And we've heard so many wonderful and anonymous legends, stories, wonderful, anonymous, all grammatically feminine. It's no coincidence. Women silenced by history who have led and will continue opening closed areas and leading the way. Roots that unite us, interconnect us, and bring us together through history and stories in one way or another. They are different perspectives offered by life. When we look back, we see what's been built and how much remains to be done. It's a simile of our Europe. Jacques Delors stated that the construction of Europe, with its crises and hesitations, could not be compared to a long and calm river. It couldn't, and it can't. He claimed that the history of Europe is the history of an often difficult sailing in fair and in rough weather through the mixed waters of many tributary rivers. And that's the way it is, always bearing in mind the constructive zeal that characterized our founding fathers, this zeal that we should continue transmitting today, because with motivation, the Spanish people and Europe we will be unstoppable. However, the dizzy rhythm of our current society makes us forget at times the essentials, the simple and more human things. We lose our feelings and our empathy. So from this noble site today, the heart of Europe, let us take some time to reflect. Many have preceded us and many others will come. And it's for the reason, out of humility and political will, that we should build bridges of understanding, strengthen ties, share knowledge, because that will be synonymous with progress. Europe has for many years been marked by borders and by wars. Darkness that led to nothingness, because with fear you never win, you always lose. You should always learn from that. Let us avoid making the same mistakes of the past, where the blindness of authoritarianism and hatred flooded restricted territories. Today, our best flag is democracy with a solid foundation in constitutionalism and equality, uniting countries, crossing an ocean that links with our brother and sister countries in Iberoamerica. There is no brighter light than that stemming from the sum of diversity, characteristic of many people that share common values and principles. Let's uphold reason, humanism, leaving behind those who only make noise by echoing those populisms that make them think themselves superior and which caused so much damage and pain. Our future today is peace and harmony in a united Europe. On the 9th of May, the Schuman Declaration launched a revolution that would change the destiny of Europe. 69 years after, we must keep in mind Schuman's central idea to expand and advance in what unites us and never in what separates us. I end by vindicating the history of Extremadura, a land that has grown around its roots. I'm referring to the roots of the earth, the fertile ones, the roots of life. Hence, our essence, our identity, and our ability to excel. The Extremaduran society is synonymous with effort. Nothing has been easy. And if we look towards the future, we do it with the optimism that these new times require. The Extremaduran society is the reflection of all the European values, source of integration, progress, and most importantly, dialogue and consensus. In Extremadura, we are very aware of the sustainable use of natural resources. Even so, nature is wise, and we would do well to listen to it and to pay more attention to the warnings of climate change. Not just for us, but for the commitment with our environment and for what we will bequeath to our future generation. If we continue like this, life in some 20 to 30 years will not be true life. It's everyone's responsibility that we build the highest awareness and involvement in this matter. I finish with the hope that every one of us, and as our society as a whole, we always have something new to learn, a horizon to reach, and a home to return to, making out of every place in Europe the Rome to which all roads lead, whether by land or by sea. A happy Europe Day to you all.
This is the 13th edition of this award. All the laureates embodied the special work towards mutual understanding and union. They contribute to the construction of this thrilling project, which is Europe. This year, for the first time, the European Charles V Award has been granted to an initiative, to a project, the cultural roots of the Council of Europe. have just seen it in the video. There are currently in the cultural routes of the Council of European Programme up to 38 certified itineraries. It has more than 1,600 members that cross 61 countries of 4 continents. The first route was declared in 1987, and it was a very European and a very Spanish route. It was the route of St. James. The director of Jacobeo 2021 and representative of the St. James route, Ms. Cecilia Pereira Marimon, has the floor. When, during the 11th century, a hermit discovered the remains of Apostle St. James the Greater, he didn't know that he was giving rise to one of the most important pilgrimage routes in the world. When Alfonso II, King of Asturias, walked for weeks to pray before the tomb of the Apostle, he didn't know he would be the first of millions of pilgrims to travel to Compostela. When, over the centuries, people from all corners of the continent traveled hundreds of kilometers to reach Santiago, they didn't know that they were laying the foundations of what is today known as Europe. Your Majesty, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Vice President of the Government, President of the Congress of Deputies, President of the Junta de Extremadura, General Secretary of Iberoamerica, authorities, ladies and gentlemen. The European cultural routes are much more than educational heritage of tourist routes. The cultural routes are the arteries that have shaped Europe. They are the routes that tell our history, through which the values that describe who we are transmitted. And the Way of St. James was declared in 1987 the first of these routes by the Council of Europe. For more than a millennium, people from all over the world have embarked on a long journey to reach Compostela. They have traveled to Spain through the French way, the Northern way, the Primitive way, the Portuguese way, the Silver way, or the Mozarabic way, which, by the way, passes through Cáceres, which is very close to Yuste here. People who brought with them their culture, their language, their identity, and took with them a little bit of ours. And so, step by step, Europe was built. There are already 80,000 kilometers acknowledged as the Way of St. James. Stage by stage, the common values that define our European identity took shape. Because the Way of St. James represents the history of Europe. It's the history of who we are, and it's also a wager for the future. We are living in a time when walls are being raised again. It is a time of selective identities that turn their backs on others. A time of nationalisms that, in order to claim their own, they believe they must reject all that's foreign. So that's why today it's very important to bring back the Jacobean spirit. The universal values found in each stone of the way: hospitality, generosity, respect for diversity, coexistence, dialogue, tolerance, the ability to sacrifice. Pilgrims, they do have very different origins, but they all share the same path and they have a common goal. And I cannot think of a better metaphor of what Europe means than the Way of St. James. The way transcends borders and identities. It opens spaces. It unites us in diversity. It teaches us that pride in our own, love of our culture, our country, our identity, this is not incompatible with respect, tolerance, or even admiration for others. The way is just the opposite for all. Something very common amongst pilgrims is the realization after a few stages that they have packed too many things in their backpacks. At each hostel, on each stage of the journey, they travel lighter, they leave part of their luggage behind. Finally, kilometer by kilometer, they rid themselves of everything which is superfluous, and they understand that the most important thing is to travel only with essentials. In addition to clothes and useless objects, they also leave behind prejudices, selfishness, and also the differences that separate them from those who walk by their side. Kilometer by kilometer, the way strips them naked, and they arrive in Compostela dressed in universal values only, the values that form the essence of who we are. Thank you for this acknowledgement that the European cultural roots receive today. Thank you on behalf of the millions of people who have traveled and will continue to travel the way of St. James to build a better future. Let's continue to make path by walking. Let's be pilgrims. We will be waiting for you in Santiago of Compostela for the Xacobeo 2021. I only want to remind you, good path, buen camino. Thank you very much. Europe is our future, and young people must begin to conquer it thanks to education and training. Today, in this ceremony, we count with young people engaged with Europe, involved in building Europe. Representing this committed youth, we have here Inés Rodríguez Aceituno and Paula Chato Hidalgo. They are both students at the secondary school of Jaranda in Jarandilla de la Vera. They have the floor.
Your Majesty, Mr. Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Vice President of the Government of Spain, Speaker of the Parliament, President of the Extremadura Government, Iberoamerican Secretary General authorities, ladies and gentlemen. Today, big characters from different parts of the world are gathering here. They don't need to be introduced, but we do need to introduce ourselves because we are anonymous girls, though nobody is truly anonymous since we all have a name and a history behind. We are Inés Rodríguez Aceituno and Paula Chato Hidalgo, and we study at the Jaranda High School in Jarandilla de la Vera, a small town close to this monastery. We study there 368 students from Jarandilla de la Vera, Guijo de Santa Bárbara, Aldeanueva de la Vera, and other villages in the area. But this anonymity I was talking about is normal at our age of 13, 14 years of age. Yet the young people we represent are the main characters of the future. We have our own dreams, our projects still to be fulfilled, ideas to be carried out, lives to live. We are now embarking on the path to our future. We're in motion, ready to take over the next stage. Today, we are studying, learning. In our case, in our high school, we use active methodologies and intergenerational programs handed down by our elders, so we may get to know and understand traditions and customs from other times which today are seemingly impossible because our hasty societies are focused on speed, brevity, tweets and images that replace conversation. From this intergenerational encounter, we've learned a new way of looking, comprehending and analyzing our environment and our common spaces, exercising our rights and taking up our responsibilities to build a society for and among and with all women and men of all ages. We have created at our high school a project called A Trip to Everywhere, studying and analyzing historical journeys and routes which we use as a guide for the present and as a compass in our meandering towards the future. This is how we learn, because a trip does not only transport us to other places, but also to other cultures and lead us to knowledge. We look ahead because the future is the only horizon we have, but we are also aware that there is something pushing us, the legacy of our predecessors, the heritage bequeathed by our elders. That is why we want to learn our history, and for that we need you to show it to us. We can only value and respect that which we know, and it is necessary that you bequeath to us as wholly as possible, not damaged or contaminated by the bad habits and decisions that are changing our planet, so that youth and the future generation can also know who they are, who we are, and who our ancestors were. As the magician Albus Dumbledore said in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, we're only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. Gift for spreading discord and enmity is very great. We can fight it only by showing an equally strong bond of friendship and trust. Differences of habit and language are nothing at all if our aims are identical and our hearts are open. We are aware that we live in a globalized world. That is why it's necessary for us to be united, connected, that we are mixed. Because if challenges are common, the solutions can also be common. In this area, since our childhood, we are familiar with names the likes of Charles V, Jerómin, Sierra de Tormantos, Yuste. These are names from centuries ago, but which are still present in our streets, squares, shops, etc. At our young age, many youngsters from this area have already traveled parts of the route of the Emperor Charles V from Jarandilla de la Vera to this royal monastery of Yuste, helping us to delve deeper into his figure and his era. Every year we meet thousands of people who travel this route and who get to know our land and culture. At the same time, we're given the opportunity to show the best of ourselves and to get to know those who visit us. Probably in other European countries, many young people are also taking a route, a path, meeting other people and other cultures, crossing borders that no longer exist because in Europe they were erased to be united. That's also a way to learn and to grow. Not long ago, they told us that the Charles V European Award had been granted to the cultural roots of the Council of Europe because they encourage us to travel and to discover the valuable material and immaterial heritage that we treasure and the rich history that we share through time and space. Today, all those who have traveled any of the 38 cultural routes have also been rewarded because, for sure, we have learned something. We, the young people, will continue traveling and learning. But please don't give up being our beacon to guide us along the path of this diverse and shared history, which is what Europe is about. Thank you very much.
Jury of the 13th edition of the European Charles V Award decided to grant the award to the Cultural Roots of the Council of Europe program for promoting and for making possible the European values of cultural diversity, respect for the respective identities, intercultural dialogue, and the exchange and knowledge of the countries and history. The jury also praised the work of the roots in favor of cooperation in research and development, the value placed on the memory, the European heritage, the educational exchanges for young Europeans, the contemporary cultural and artistic practice, and cultural tourism. At the same time, the jury considered the image and the position of Europe provided by the cultural routes beyond Europe to the rest of the world. All this makes this initiative worthy of the European Charles V Award. His Majesty the King delivers the European Award to the cultural roots of the Council of Europe, represented by the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Mr. Thornborn Jagland. The Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Mr. Thornborn Jagland, takes the floor.
Your Majesty, Vice President of the Government of Spain, Speaker of the Congress, President of Extremadura and the European and Iberoamerican Academy of Yuste, Iberoamerican Secretary General, ambassadors, prior of the Monastery of Yuste, authorities, members of the Academy, holders of the Charles V Award, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It is really such a great pleasure to be here in this historic place, and it was indeed very emotional to see that the European flag came up in these beautiful surroundings. By the way, this flag was and still is the flag of the Council of Europe, but in the 70s the European Union asked us to use it as well. So it is more known for being the flag of the European Union, but originally it was our flag, and as was shown on the screen, the Council of Europe was founded in 1949, so we are celebrating the 70th anniversary. In 1949, it was 10 countries that signed the Treaty of London, but after the fall of the Berlin Wall, became larger and larger, and are now 47 member countries. And by the way, you cannot become a member of the European Union before becoming a member of the Council of Europe and ratifying the European Convention on Human Rights. It is a great pleasure to accept the Carlos V European Award on behalf of the Council of Europe. In doing so, Your Majesty, I wish to begin by thanking Spain and you personally for conveying this honor on us and for your strong commitment to the values and the ideas that our organization represents. Your 2017 visit to Strasbourg on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of Spain's accession was a memorable one, and we greatly appreciate your description of our work as an expression of the best values on our continent. This is certainly what we strive to achieve. Since 1995, the Carlos V Award has been given to some of the great contemporary Europeans who have done so much to promote our common heritage, identity, and integration. Among them, Mikhail Gorbachev, Simone Weil, and my predecessor, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Spain's Marcelino Oreja, who I'm so pleased to see here with us today. But for the first time, this prize has gone to an institution in recognition of our Cultural Roots program. That program was launched in 1987 during Marcelino Oreja's term in office. So perhaps he can stake a claim, uniquely being the first 2 times winner. As has been said already, Santiago de Compostela was the Council of Europe's first certified cultural route, confirmed in a declaration that bears its name. And over the past 32 years, the program has gone from strength to strength. Our enlarged partial agreement on cultural routes, on which Spain was a founding member, will soon have its 33rd member state when Latvia joins later this year. As of today, there are a total of 38 certified routes crossing more than 50 countries in Europe and beyond. And of these, 22 cross Spain, which remains one of the most active member states in the program. The success of this joint project stems from the inherent demand from Europeans for a greater understanding of a common identity underpinned by our common cultural heritage. After all, this is not simply a network of physical pathways. Rather, they are journeys across space and time. Each is based on an historic root, a cultural concept, figure, or phenomenon with transnational importance and significance for the understanding and respect of common European values. And passing through at least 3 member states, each provides an opportunity for Europeans to know ourselves better, to participate in our shared culture, and to contribute to sustainable economic development along the way. It is a testament to citizens' own curiosity and commitment that this program has succeeded. As I've said, we celebrate this month the Council of Europe's 70th anniversary. We should be mindful of Europe's extraordinary transformation since the end of the Second World War II. Today, the Council of Europe has 47 member states. Each has ratified the European Convention on Human Rights, setting common standards on human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. And all 830 million people who live within those member states have the ultimate right to petition to the European Court of Human Rights to protect them against arbitrary use of power of their own state. The creation of such a legal space is unprecedented in European history and in the rest of the world. Because of it, the death penalty is totally forbidden, as is torture and forced labor. Rights to a fair trial, freedom of expression and assembly are guaranteed, and freedom of religion is a part of our common culture and is guaranteed, of course, in the convention itself. Over the past 7 decades, our convention system has replaced conflict with cooperation. It is the bedrock of our democratic security, a success story for multilateralism, and a tribute to greater unity of Europe. But it is also under increased attack. In recent years, the rise of nationalism and extremism has accompanied worrying new trends. There have been attempts to bring courts under political control. Media and NGOs are under increasing pressure, and journalists have faced physical attacks. The reasons are many and complex. Loss of historic memory, rising poverty and inequality, and the perceived threat on the other in a globalized world where change comes fast, and an individual standing can feel very fragile indeed. But complex problems require considered solutions. But we should be clear about the starting point, the application of the rule of law. This is important at the national and international levels alike. I am very often asked to which ideology I belong. Is it socialism, capitalism, liberalism, or whatever? Well, it may be a bit of all, but during my 10 years as Secretary General of the Council of Europe, which role is to uphold rule of law on the entire continent, my ideology has been constitutionalism. I believe strongly that a state must be governed on the basis of a constitution, an agreed constitution, and that internal conflicts, whether legal or political, must be settled in that way. That is not to say that the constitution cannot be amended, but this must be done in accordance with the rules, most often a qualified majority vote. This provides clarity, fairness, and predictability. It is a democratic way to uphold the rule of law. The same logic goes, of course, at the European level. The principle of constitutionalism apply to the European Convention and the Strasbourg Court too. These exist to protect people's fundamental rights and have, by common agreement, supremacy over domestic law. If governments wish to change the system, to alter the law, then they must argue their case and use agreed procedures, or leave the convention altogether if they so wish and the population so wish. But no government has ever done that, nor do I believe that any government ever should or want. Its citizens would ultimately pay a heavy price through the loss of their legal protection. But equally, the rule of law is there to be observed by all. It must not be manipulated for political advantage. For the same reason, it is vital that member states work in good faith to implement the judgments of the Strasbourg Court in good time. Spain has long demonstrated its deep commitment to the Council of Europe, to our values, and to the multilateralism more generally, and of course, is implementing the judgments of the court, which is a fundamental principle of the rule of law in Europe today. But as Europe endures these turbulent times, we need politicians of all persuasions, from all member states, to offer that same degree of leadership in the interest of citizens across our continent. We need them to recognize that many of the gravest problems we face today apply across Europe's borders, and the most effective solutions apply likewise. Over the years, we have developed a range of instruments and are key to achieve this. Together, we have agreed common standards that protect national minorities and regional and local languages, and combat sexual exploitation and abuse of children, and violence against women and domestic violence. We have taken measures to prevent torture and inhuman and degrading treatment or punishment, to tackle trafficking on human beings and human organs, and to stop the abuse of personal data and acts of cybercrime. And we have also been active in ensuring the safety and integrity of sports, the accessibility of European culture and education that promotes equality, inclusion, and democratic citizenship. So, Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, more challenges lie ahead. How do we harness the benefits of artificial intelligence, revolution, while identifying and mitigating its threats to human rights, democracy, and the rule of law? How do we best combat the scores of modern slavery in our societies? And how do we persuade member states to better apply the European Social Charter as a remedy to the poverty and increased inequality that we see in parts of Europe today? These are just some of the areas in which our organization is advancing its work. But to succeed, we need European citizens and leaders alike to recommit to our shared values. For this, a deeper understanding of our shared culture and heritage is crucial. Our founding fathers understood this well. That's why the first Council of Europe treaty to follow the European Convention on Human Rights was the European Cultural Convention in 1954. It committed our member states to safeguard our common heritage and encourage the development of a European culture. Our Cultural Roots program is one example of our work in this area. And it is a great success and a source of pride, and we are humbled that it should receive this wonderful and prestigious prize on this Europe Day. On this day, it is time for reflection of a common history, bright but also tragic. Tells us one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to live together on this continent. Living together is the imperative of our modern times. So I end by saying, living together, zusammenleben, convivencia. Convivencia is the necessity in the 21st century. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
To conclude this solemn ceremony, His Majesty the King takes the floor. Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Vice President of the Government, on behalf of the President of the Government, the Speaker of the Congress, President of the Government of Extremadura, and President of the Trust Board of the Yuste and European Academy Foundation, General Secretary, ambassadors, authorities, ex-presidents of the Regional Government of Extremadura, academics, laureates of the Charles V Award, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to make a special mention here to our speakers here before, the director of Jacobeo 2021, and to Ines and to Paula, who have given a face and a voice here today to the European youth, to our future. Yuste welcomes us one more year in a celebration that aims to combine, and it manages to do so, our tribute to the common European heritage, to the people, to the organizations, and the milestones we have forged, with our aspiration full of hope and commitment of a future for Europe that consolidates and builds upon the great achievements of peace and freedom, of progress and solidarity, of democracy, of human rights, those who have costed so much to us and that so clearly define our great project of union. This old monastery of San Jeronim is land of Extremadura, which saw the last days of our King Emperor, serve us once more as a sober and beautiful scenery for this solemn ceremony of the European Charles V Award. For the first time, and this is the 13th edition, it has been given to a project and not to a person. This project represents numerous initiatives which spread across 4 continents. We are talking about the cultural roots of the Council of Europe. The European and Iberoamerican Academy of Yuste Foundation, of which I am proud to be honorary president, has been working for 27 years for the construction and integration of Europe, doing this through one of the basic pillars that identify us as Europeans, through culture. It has always highlighted and taken to the maximum level the motto of the European Union, united in diversity. The decision of this year's jury emphasizes and reinforces the cultural and historical pillar that represents who we are, our history, our roots, our differences and our similarities. From these, the routes represented by the itineraries are founded. These routes certified by the Council of Europe. They are now part of the efforts of great personalities already acknowledged by this award, persons who have dedicated their work to the enhancement of European values and the process of European construction and integration. Every 9th of May, we celebrate Europe. It's a time to applaud the achievements and to face the challenges. And in these times of doubts and challenges, Yuste, which is a key place in the history of this continent, opts for constructive reflection, for calm analysis, and for seeking and offering answers to so many questions. We are building together Europe day by day, from here, from Spain, from Extremadura. We continue and we will continue doing so. We want to achieve a true Europe of and for its people, so that it may continue to be a beacon of light and culture and a space of freedom, equality and peace. Today, we take a leap forward and share the award with the thousands of citizens, institutions, entities, associations and foundations that have had the vision and courage to launch projects based on our history, on our culture and roots, to find the soul of Europe and further unite Europeans with each other and also with the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the seal of the cultural roots was created under the aegis of the Council of Europe. It is a seal of excellence and an example of cooperation between people, populations, countries and continents, where European identity, values and heritage are reflected. This initiative was driven during the mandate as Secretary General of the Council of Europe of Marcelino Oreja, who also received the award in the year 2017. I am very pleased to see him here with us today. As I am also happy to see with us the current Secretary General, Thorbjørn Jagland. He honors us with his presence and he improves this act. Thank you very much for being here. He knows how much Spain values its close relationship with the Council of Europe. And allow me to recall the honor which meant for me to speak before its Parliamentary Assembly during my visit to Strasbourg in April 2017. As it has been said, this year meant the 30th anniversary of our membership to the Council. And I would like to mention him as the highest representative of this institution, so congratulations for this award and also for this 70th anniversary of the Council of Europe. It was celebrated on the 5th of May. And on this day, I cannot fail to mention and to acknowledge the excellent work of the European Institute of Cultural Roots in its responsibility to manage this heritage, which is so unique and honors all Europeans. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe is full of culture, expressed in symbols and representations of the different areas that appear on the certified routes awarded here today. St. James Way was the first to receive this certification in the year 87. And now there are 38 routes, as you know, which gather more than 1,600 members in 61 countries over 4 countries, Europe, Africa, Asia and America. I would like to note in this occasion, Mr. President of the Junta de Extremadura, the roots of Charles V. They bring us here today to this monastery of Yuste. And they travel through numerous countries on different continents, including our beloved America. Here, Spanish presence was responsible for the foundation of dozens of cities. Thus, the cultural roots of the Council of Europe, involving people and entities, are cultural roots that value the archaeological, cultural and artistic heritage. Also the customs, the religious and secular traditions, landscapes, cities, everything to prove that culture is the best way and the best place to meet. They are also an opportunity to sometimes focus on nearly unpopulated areas, and they become a commitment to sustainable development, and they boost the economic and tourist growth of the areas that set them. They are also one of the best examples of transnational cooperation. The cultural roots of the Council of Europe are, in short, a journey through time and space, from prehistory to the present, crossing almost all the latitudes of the planet. A physical journey full of experiences, which often transforms travelers. It helps them to discover the true dimension of humanity and the values of equality, freedom and solidarity. All this shows the wisdom of the choice of the jury. Europe is united because it is connected. It is connected to its past, and it is a reality of present and future, and it has a universal vocation. In this sense, the cultural roots represent the thread to conduct the principles and the values where we can all feel represented. And that is why we should be able to award the memory of our ancestors, their work, their effort, the Europe they dreamed of, what they wanted to leave us as a legacy. To this struggle, we have to add some other global challenges: climate change, sustainability in the planet, massive migrations, or derivatives of the technological revolution or digital revolution. Well, I have a long list here of challenges. These are just a few examples. I am sure that the European Union, together with other major initiatives such as Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, offer us adequate tools to face these and many other challenges. Europe must be able to, with courage and will, in every moment, work collectively. It has to do so in order to tackle these challenges, and it has to give joint responses to each of them. We need a more united Europe, a stronger one, a more determined Europe, and also a more effective Europe in achieving the ambitions and expectations of their citizens. That is the Europe shown in their own way by the roots awarded today. Ladies and gentlemen, here, in this extraordinary location, heritage of all the Spaniards and European, I would like to express once again my deep affection and acknowledgement to Extremadura and to the European and Iberoamerican Yuste Academy Foundation. And I would like again to congratulate the winners. I would like to congratulate the Secretary General here. I would like to encourage them to keep walking and getting to know other landscapes and people. Let's continue building Europe from knowledge and from encounters. Let's, as one of our great poets said, Antonio Machado. Let's continue to make path by walking. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your presence at this solemn ceremony of the 13th European Charles V Award. With this year, we open the lovely garden of the monastery of Yuste to the public. In order to close the ceremony, we will listen together to the Anthem of Europe, interpreted by the string quartet of the Extremadura's Young Orchestra and by the Extremaduran soprano, Miss Carmen Solís. So from Yuste, from Extremadura, happy Europe Day to all of you.